This is the American Business Podcast for the Next Generation, ABP, with Kevin Devecioglu. ABP is a popular business podcast with thousands of subscribers on YouTube. The American Business Podcast community is growing fast. Thank you for your support. Subscribe ABP's YouTube channel today. The American Business Podcast is coming to you from the center of the global business world, New York City, with new educational business content is coming to you every week. Visit the official website for more information and corporate sponsorship opportunities at www.americanpodcast.tv today. Now, the American Business Podcast ABP's new episode is starting.
Hello, welcome to the American Business Podcast. I'm Kevin Devecioglu, your host. I'm welcoming you episode 84 in our season 3 in the American Business Podcast. American Business Podcast is the voice of American business. In each American Business Podcast episode, we learn something new. It's an educational, informative business podcast coming to you live from New York City. We have a great guest today, and we'll get the conversation started. We'll learn about some insights about AI, securities, investment markets, as well as the technology that's being used in business nowadays. Let's invite our guest to the virtual stage, and let's get the conversation started. Hello, Matt. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Kevin. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. How are you? How is your week going so far?
Week is going great. It's Friday. It's sunny out. Can't complain.
Yes. Happy Friday. Thank you so much for being with us in your busy schedule.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you. It's a privilege to be on the show with you.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you very much. We are looking forward to this episode to talk about various subjects. And why don't we get started with introductions? Would you please introduce yourself and your organization briefly to our audience and to our listeners?
Fantastic. So my name is Yacoub. I lead marketing at Trade Desk. I'm the director of marketing at Trade Desk Securities. We are a retail brokerage firm that is mobile first. And we've got some exciting features that we're just recently rolled out, and I'm excited to talk about them with you and the audience and tell you a little bit about what we have going on and all the exciting things that are happening.
Yeah, that sounds great. I appreciate it. Well, let's talk about your career path a little bit. How did you get started? How your career path has evolved over the years?
Wow. So I went to college at Arizona State University. I made the big move. I grew up on Long Island, and it's rare that a New York boy goes across the country to the desert. And I won't age myself. I will. We're talking 1996, right? This is when Arizona was still desert, and not so much anymore. But yeah, I made the journey out to Arizona, and it was probably one of the best things I've ever done in my life. Removing myself, always growing up in New York, I removed myself from here. And it challenged me to see and experience new people from different parts of the country, and break bread, and a little bit took away my New York accent. But yeah, I think it was one of the greatest for me to kind of go outside of that. So when I did graduate from Arizona, I came back to New York, and I knew I wanted to be in advertising. And I think back then it was 2000, and really the only platforms that were available were linear TV or radio. Right? It was just like right about at the end of the .com boom, and there was just a little some hanger. Some people are still hanging on, and I received my first role. I got my first job offer at McCann Erickson to work on the Wendy's campaign, and I'll recall right now my offer was $23,000 a year, and this is in 2000, and it doesn't seem that it was 25 years ago. And I heard 2000. I'm like, how am I going to live on $23,000? How am I going to go to the bar on $23,000?
Good point.
And at the same time, I received an offer maybe like days later from about.com. I don't know if you remember about.com.
Yes.
And I ended up taking the role at about.com for $36,000. And at that point, it was a no-brainer. So I was immediately dropped into digital marketing. Although I wanted to go to an advertising agency because of the sexiness aspect of what you think about. Cash is king, right?
Yep.
So I started my career at about.com, and it really was a great time to be there and learn about the digital marketing at the time. I was at About for maybe about a year and a half, and I went back to linear TV, but I ended up at CNN, and at CNN I worked on the ad side, on the ad operations side here in New York, and unfortunately I was there during 9/11, and ultimately lost my job during 9/11. Everything was kind of preempted. As I evolved throughout my career, I had a few stints at agencies, and ultimately I made my way into working on the brand side. I had some time in health grades on the healthcare side. I ran the NFL credit card at Barclays for some time, and here I am now, post-COVID, at a trade desk. And I couldn't be happier where I am. I've had some, during my life and milestones, such as life. I got a divorce. I have a beautiful 12-year-old daughter who's going to be 13 in 5 days. She's going to be 13
Amazing.
in 5 days. It's crazy.
Yes. Congratulations in advance.
Thank you. I don't know. I'm worried. 13.
Yeah. They are growing up.
And so, I got a divorce, and after the divorce, now you become a single income household. And when I was really looking at what my next role was going to be or where I wanted to be, I actually went back to school also. So I got my degree. Sorry, I'll kind of take a step back. I went to school for sociology. I got a bachelor's of science in sociology from Arizona State. And I recently went back I went back in summer of 2024. January of 2024. I went back to college online, and I got a second degree in digital audiences from Arizona State also, to kind of give me some formal education to my marketing, or digital marketing, if you will.
Of course.
So when I was looking at my next move, I had to rebuild my life after my divorce. And I was thinking about, how do I make an impact? Right? I've always been in marketing or advertising. I was working for big brands. Like, at the end of the day, you're not really making that great of an impact. And I thought about different career paths. I even thought about changing my career path, maybe going into teaching or nursing, or something that served this, had some social services aspect into it. And I came across, I was very specific, intentional in what my next role was going to be. And Trade Desk happened to be very close to my home, their office location. It happened to be in a pivotal time, a milestone in my life where I needed to rebuild my financial state. First to admit, there was times where I was careless with my money. And now I had to be serious about it. And Trade Desk really made sense to me in terms of a company that was in its infancy, where I would have the greatest impact in terms of building their marketing and helping really shape the voice and the infrastructure, and where the fruits of my labor would be immediately have an impact and be seen. And to this day, I think it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. I work with a great team, great leadership, and very, intentional with what they're looking to accomplish. And it gives me the opportunity to be on platforms like this and represent Trade Desk, which I'm very happy to do.
I appreciate it. Well, can you tell us about your work on daily basis? What are the challenging and exciting parts of your work on daily basis?
So I'm a single person marketing team. I have obviously the support of my team. We're a global company, so we have an office in Hong Kong where our product team is, and they're a great team. So some of the challenges are, very often I find myself late up at night because my 9 a.m. is their 9 p.m. and their 9 p.m. is my 9 a.m. And I immerse myself in work. Sometimes I'm up late, but it's part of the. It's a labor of love, and that's. I wouldn't even say it's a challenge. I don't think if I did it, if I minimized it, I would not have the relationships I have with colleagues that are across the world that I've never met. That I feel like I have an intimate relationship with because we speak so often. And when I joined the company, a lot of people used to not have cameras on, and I insisted cameras would be on because when cameras are on, people are paying attention. And that was great for me. I was also, in a way, lobbying to stay working from home. So if everybody got to see each other's faces, in office didn't really happen. So it was self-serving at the same time. And I'll admit to that. Day to day for me, because I manage everything, it starts with looking at different medias where we could potentially get some earned media in different publications as thought leaders. We're a new company, so a fairly new company here in the United States. So I look at initiatives that are not going to only have immediate return or direct response, immediate return on investment in terms of bringing it in. We have to build a foundation in terms of authoritativeship and SEO and deep linking. So I look at how we can put our leadership or myself in positions to win in terms of being thought leaders, driving education to our users. And so that's one part of my day. A big part of the day is looking at our paid ads. We do run paid ads, whether they're Google ads or other ads, or managing an affiliate campaign, or different partners. We have a great partner, who's our creative partner, and I will certainly call them out, Design Guru. They're in London. They've been a great partner to us for our creative services. And for them, working with them is great because they are 6 hours ahead. So if I put something in at the end of the day, I know when I get up in the morning that creative is going to be done for me, or at least I'm going to have a first pass at it, which I love working with other global companies. So it goes from creative to looking at SEO, putting us in positions to win. I write some of our blogs. We talk about positioning, and also look at new features, whether it's also putting together life cycle campaigns and understanding what the market looks like. So I touch every single point, every single medium or platform across the board. I work with compliance directly. Everything has to go through compliance and be checked off, and then be filed with FINRA. So there's a whole lot of different components working with product. I work with product cross-functionally. I work with compliance cross-functionally. I work with operations cross-functionally. And of course, I'm the head on the chopping block when numbers don't hit. So sometimes it feels like a heavy load, but when things work and you put together a campaign, you put together an initiative, and we've been working on an initiative for a while with our product team. And I have to really talk about our product team. Our product team is insane. They put out a new app every single Monday. Every Monday, there's a new version of our app. And it speaks volumes to the commitment that our team has in terms of hearing the customer voice, making modifications and improvements to continue driving the best experience possible for all of our users. So, I just wanted to highlight our team there. So that's what a day looks like for me. Busy, but the most rewarding thing for me is when things work, that really you get that rush of dopamine that you're like, it's like you finished a marathon and you won a gold medal, right? There's nothing replacing that. And that's, it's a labor of love. And so that's where it's also very personal for me. I've been with the company since its infancy, so I'm heavily, personally and emotionally vested in the success of the company.
I'd like to shift our conversation towards AI. Especially, it's a popular subject. We all talk about AI from different angles, depends on the industry or the practice. So from your point of view and from your industry's point of view, how do you see the impact of AI in business?
Support for the American Business Podcast for the Next Generation ABP comes from the Marvelous CRM Software. The Marvelous CRM Software is an AI-powered marketing and business development software. It is for small and mid-sized companies. You can manage your prospects, customers, contacts. You can manage your sales pipelines to increase revenue. You can send unlimited emails. You can also manage and schedule your social media accounts. Moreover, the Marvelous CRM software helps you design your company websites, online stores, and event registration websites on the same platform. The Marvelous CRM software brings you a customer portal for you to manage your customers and members. The Marvelous CRM software is modern, easy to use, secure, and affordable. Subscribe today and close more deals.
So we can talk about a few things. And I actually was talking to some peers yesterday. So I'm going to be moderating a panel at the Digital Marketing for Financial Services in New York at the Hilton, November 6th and November 7th. So I'll be on a panelist on one panel and a moderator on the other. And the biggest thing that we talked about in terms of preparing for that panel was one of my peers, Andrew from Chartis, highlighted what we're calling the black funnel, right? And that black funnel is how users are coming in through AI and ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever chatbot they're using. There's no transparency from the platforms on clicks, impressions, or what you would normally see in a Google Analytics or Google Search Console, or you'd see in your AdWords account or Bing account, right? So it becomes we're all figuring it out together. And that's what we're trying to talk about. Like, what do we look at? How do we make that shift? Because all of that information now that they would normally get or click through into your site from the SERP page, from the search engine results page, they're not clicking through because that information or content is being extracted from your site and being displayed in their ecosystem. So you lose track of time on site, you lose track of clicks, you lose track of page views, you lose track of everything. And some of the things that are concerning also is because we're a very compliant heavy industry or vertical, some things could be taken out of context. And our disclosures, they could take, snippets of our content and not take our disclosures at the footer, right? Where does that leave us? And are we at an impact, or what is our exposure when, we have to answer to FINRA? And so those are some of the challenges that we deal with right now. And so that's a big talking point for us. And I think it's about being ready, right? And putting things in perspective of being able to look at it and say, okay, well, is it raising my brand search, right? If nothing else, where are you going to see it? Your brand search or direct traffic is where you'll see it. Putting in the proxy, right? Given all things flat, right? That's where you'll see the impact, direct traffic or brand search. And actually, eMarketer just put out an article today that Google Ads is now representing their ads in Gemini, and you don't have to opt in. So it could swap. Your ads could be served in the SERP page, or it could be served in Gemini. You just don't know, and it is not being compartmentalized or broken out. So there is, where we always thought we were going to be, where there's more transparency. Now there's a little bit of lack of transparency. And even as we get into privacy issues, there's going to be less. And it makes a point for, you now cannot look at just direct response, right? You have to look at building your brand equity as well. Because as those clicks reduced and customers are not consuming, customers, investors, whatever it is that you're selling, for us, it's investment products. If customers or investors are now consuming that information on a third party's website, right, you have to get used to that. And so if they're not taking it from your website, you have to build a little bit of brand equity, or start using verbiage that is consistent across, paid, owned and earned media, so that it can be identified as your own. See the keywords to use words, or like, for instance, like hashtags, but in a keyword state, and seeing that. But it's something that marketers are figuring out. And jokingly, I said to my colleagues when we were prepping, I said, I guess we're going primitive. And, it was echoed in the meeting that, yeah, we do, right? Because we're still all trying to figure this out. It's primitive. It's kind of like when you learn something, it's always hard. It's always harder at first, and then before it's easy, right? And so we're at the hard part right now.
Yes.
And the biggest challenge to us is not trying to make it easy, but just being prepared for it. And I think that's where we're looking at right now, even as an organization for us. I rely personally. I'm a heavy AI user. I depend on it in my day-to-day work. I'm a single member marketing team that is supported by agencies and a global product team that's overseas. So, I take advantage of every tool out there that is going to, make me work faster, smarter, and not duplicate efforts. And that has worked for me. So I feel with that being in play, it's really important to only, embrace it for usage in terms of how is it going to optimize your own work schedule, but also prepare for how it's going to affect your end user customer, right? How do we prepare for it internally? I think it was actually last night, I did a Google Gemini course. And one of the takeaways for me was the training sets, right? And hallucinations. Like when you're using these, these LLMs and these agents, you have to really understand what you're using it for and what were the training sets that were used, right? Because it could skew one way or the other.
Yes.
And if it's only been trained on good, it's only going to know good. It's not going to know any of the bad. It can't identify it.
Yes. It all depends on the data.
Right. So the data has to be equivalent in terms of negative and positive data. There has to be an equilibrium of both. There has to be statistical significance, right? Because without statistical significance, you're going to have anomalies. There has to be back testing, right? And are there restrictions? Are there guidelines that restrict you from looking at specific things? And when you look at it, and that's why it was when customers or investors are using outside platforms to make investment decisions, like you really have to have some level of knowledge to understand, own personal knowledge, to understand, are the answers and the prompt results that I'm getting, do they look right? And believe it or not, I think it was last week, ChatGPT made a mistake on 6 + 6 for me. Right? Like a simple math problem. So, I have to call out a lot of the general public when they say, AI is going to take my job. No, it is not going to take your job. You're going to have to know your job really well to be able to police AI, right? You're going to have to know all of these things and best practices and what the output should look like in order for it to be effective. Otherwise, you're not going to know. Like, there's no way of identifying bad data, hallucinations, or just plain gibberish. I tell I literally tell the ChatGPT sometimes, I'm like, you need to go to bed. You're tired because you're making no sense to me.
Yes.
So I think that's all. It's important for us as workers and as a marketer to depend on it to make us, optimize effective work, but also we have to think about how do we mitigate potential harm? How do we mitigate governance? How do we mitigate compliance? Right? There's a lot at risk.
Sure.
How do we maintain brand integrity, our own brand integrity, when our content is being pulled from different platforms? So it's very disruptive. To me, it's been disruptive in a good way, but it's going to be disruptive for a lot of the marketers out there. And one thing that people don't realize is that people are going to consume less content. They're going to be going to less websites. They're going to be going to less platforms. They're going to rely on a single screen. Right now, we talk about a single screen being your mobile screen. It's going to be a single screen, single platform. And so your inventory for ad space gets a lot smaller. You're no longer going to have 20, 30 different publishers that you can run across, or 5 different searches. It's all one window, and that user stays in that one window. So back to the point of building brand equity is important, and grounding the voice of the firm with trustworthy, compliant verbiage and content that empowers the users, for us investors. And I think that's where that's where we'll win, because we've made it a priority. And I'll actually kind of segue. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm driving the conversation. I'm going to segue a little bit into, one of the coolest features that Trade Desk has rolled out. And I'll personally speak to it. I used to use ChatGPT for investments, right? I would take my numbers, I'll take my investments, and if maybe I'm feeling feisty today and I want to buy some options, right? Maybe I want to gamble today a little bit, and I'll look at companies that have earnings coming out in the next couple of days, and I'll start flirting with different scenarios. And I use ChatGPT, obviously, to help model and guide that conversation. And that kind of leads me into Trade Desk and what we've recently rolled out. So we've recently rolled out Prism, which is our integrated in-platform chatbot that is FINRA compliant, but gives you everything that you need, that you don't have to jump from screen to screen. And that echoes what I said before about going to single screen. It's happening now in a compliant vertical, in a compliant heavy vertical. And so we're very excited about that. And we're excited about all the things you can do. You can ask it, and this is obviously not investment advice, but if you're looking into Tesla, can you look at Tesla and compare it and give me how it looks in terms of fundamentals against its competitors? And immediately you'll get the results, right? Can you give me...
This is powerful, very powerful, yes.
Very powerful, just as powerful. The only thing that differentiates Prism, powered by Trade Desk, and a ChatGPT or a generalized chat is that we don't give investment advice. Right? We have to stay compliant. It's not investment advice. We'll give you true, accurate facts. We will make sure that you're an informed investor and that you are educated and you have all of the knowledge to make financially sound investments based on your own intelligence and the data that's there, the call outs that are being made. Obviously, we don't give investment advice, and maybe in the future, but it requires obviously a registered financial advisor which is what some companies do in terms of a robo-advisor. Some people have the appetite for that, but everybody right now has the craving to use what we'll call as natural language conversation. And for us, I think it's a very pivotal milestone for investors. Historically, one of the biggest challenges that new investors have is intimidation, right? And I have to learn so much. And I always tell, when I describe to people my role in our challenge, as in my position right now, when I was running the credit card business at Barclays for the NFL credit card, a lot of the same similarities with a brokerage firm. However, we're asking, on the credit card side, you're asking for KYC. KYC is know your customer, or what we may call PPI, personal identifying information. Social security number, birthday, all the things that you need to kind of, are they credit worthy, and can I use that information to report to them to the IRS for taxation on capital gains at the end of the year? And with a credit card, yes, you're filling in that information, but after you fill in that information, the credit card issuer gives you $10,000. On the on the retail investment side, we're asking the customers to give us their $10,000. And so, and I'm just making that number up. It could be any number, but whatever, the call out or the conversion is, sometimes it took years for these people to save. And the idea of, and if you're looking at middle America, the idea of giving an online company or online bank the only $5,000 I have, when I don't know anything about investments, but I know it's something that I should be doing. That's a tough pill to swallow, right? You have to have brand trust. You have to have, authoritative voice in the space. And I'll even speak to it that I can put myself in the street. Like, if I give them my $5,000, how fast would I be able to get it back in case of an emergency, right? And so those are some of the challenges with a full conversion funnel with investments, right? I got to get them to register. I got to get a customer to give us their KYC or PPI and open a brokerage account. Then I got to get them to fund the account. And then we don't make any money unless they actively trade. Because if they sit idle on the deposit, might not even have the cash. We monetize it very little in terms of interest, but probably the operational costs surpasses, the revenue intake from the interest level on money just sitting there flat. So I like to call our customers our partners. And I'll say that from the perspective of we're in it together, right? We don't make any money as an organization unless the investor invests their money, takes action, whether they get smarter and start making some options trading, or they're using margin, right? They got to be an active investor for us to make revenue or generate income or generate revenue from it.
I'm glad you mentioned that. It's because we have actually a vibrant audience, and most of our audience are actually business minded. And started a couple of weeks ago. We started talk about actually Bitcoin as well as investment opportunities in general, informationally as well. So we got really good feedback from our audience. Also, you mentioned about how important it is to actually have the relationship with the client, knowing the client, understanding their position, and then taking the conversation from there on, and seeing the client as a partner, just like you mentioned, is actually a very important piece of information, especially for our audience, to understand the dynamics in your business when you are working with your clientele. That's a great insight. But also you mentioned about AI, and your insight about AI is also critical. So that's the most popular subject nowadays that we talk about in the American Business Podcast, AI. And you mentioned about AI from your point of view, because when we talk about AI, everyone talks about it from different angle. But your insights are also very informative. I truly appreciate it.
You know, and I just want to echo that. You know, I use it. I'm gonna expose I use it for everything. Like I've got like 16 different chat windows open. I have one that is trained on compliance, one that's trained on like checking my work for blogs, one that's trained for putting together testing recipes for ad campaigns, one that is for my own. I'm in the middle of writing a book, and so I use it for ideation and documenting. I use it for everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because I've started using it differently, and I challenge your audience to not look at AI chat as a search window or an FAQ, but start utilizing it conversationally, right? Because when you start engaging with AI conversationally, that's when you start getting smarter. That's when you start getting challenged. That's when you start pushing the envelope and opening up ideas that you normally may not have insight into, but now you're being pushed to think about. Because maybe the outputs are maybe over your pay grade. And so now you know something new. And then it identifies a hole that you never thought about. I'm like, oh, I need to fill that hole. And so for me, that when I shifted my usage from treating it like a search window or an FAQ, or kind of like a typical just customer service chat window, right, to more of an engaged conversation, that's when I started winning on professionally. That's when I started winning personally and applying it to other areas in my life. So I challenge your audience to do that, and thank you for framing it in that perspective.
Absolutely. Well, can you tell us about your role models? Have you had any role models and or mentors in your career that you can share with us?
So I there's one standout uh, manager supervisor that I worked for at an agency, Rosetta. At the time I was in pharmaceutical um, marketing, and this gentleman, uh, thought leader in marketing, in digital marketing, and led by example. He wasn't the type of leader that was a dictator. He led by example. He led by example. He put me in positions to challenge myself and win. Right. He welcomed uh, learning opportunities where things didn't go my way. Or I may have done things not to best practices, or I'm talking. I was fairly a junior person at the time, and he exemplified what a true leader was. Uh, and now when I think about it, it was kind of before the Gary Vee days, right? Before Gary Vee was like all over, and Gary Vee right now echoes everywhere. I work for my employees. I'm here to support them. my mentor, I'll look at him, I'll say he's, not really a mentor, but I look at him as a mentor because he left an everlasting footprint from his leadership on me. He always echoed, I'm here to support you. What can I do to support you better? I work for you. And having a leader that says that to you makes you feel valued. It makes you feel like you can't lose. You can't lose because I have leadership on my side. I can't lose because I have executive sponsorship that is leading by example and, not dictating, right? And to me, that's very powerful. It's very powerful, and it shows growth, right? And emotional intelligence that, they take the spotlight off themselves and put it on you. And they, leaders like that really understand what teamwork is, because if I win, everybody wins, right? If I win, he automatically wins also. So highlighting, the people that work for you and the workforce is really important. And so, kudos to that, that gentleman. If he ever watches this,
Hopefully he will.
An Ohioan from Cleveland, Ohio.
Well, that's good. Well, we have the national business podcast, so there is a chance that he may watch. So it's good. Can you tell us about your book?
So yeah, my book kind of didn't start as a book. So as I said, I'm a divorced father, and unfortunately, through the years, my divorce with my ex-wife had been what we call amicable, depending on the day. And in recent couple of years, not so much. And so I've been on the unfortunate side of having to experience, parenting time that's been interrupted or obstructed. And, I've been on the side of experience, heavy gender bias in the court systems, which I know would not be acceptable for me, becomes acceptable for the female gender. And, I've become grounded in the only way that you get a platform or a voice is documentation, right? So, documentation for me, and it's funny when you're documenting in court, you're documenting very little specifics, evidence-based, right? Can't be an emotional pour out of how you felt that day, right? Or how painful it was, because it's not grounded in evidence. Just like saying I love the way my ad it shows on screen. Yeah, but it's not grounded in data, right? It's kind of the same exact thing. It's stripped down to a bare minimum so that when you even look at it, it doesn't even look that impactful, right? Because there's no framing. And as I kind of navigated that world as now, single dad when my daughter's not here, I've taken my voice to paper and started building a narrative of like, how can my voice eventually drive systematic change? How can I identify patterns of things that are happening and identify them, right? So another father doesn't have to go through what I'm going through. And I recently, I think earlier when we were talking, I was doing my daily scrolls on Instagram, and I came across, I think it was Mel Robbins, and she had a guest on, and this guest was talking about that every person at some capacity in their life experiences either a trauma or some sort of adversity that they have to overcome. And the call out in the message was, you cannot let that trauma or adversity take more out of you than you get out of it, right? And it sounds weird, but in a positive way, right? In a positive spin. I've had some difficult days. And through those difficult days, I never thought 3 years later I would be on this other side, working at a great broker dealer with great leadership, and supported and putting positions to win, right? It built my character, right? It made me face things I didn't think I was going to face. It, put me in position to be, if I thought I was emotionally intelligent before, I'm 10x it now, right? And emotionally grounded, right? And thinking like, things aren't so bad because things could be worse, right? And so you start getting grounded. And I think the message of whatever trauma or things or obstacle that you go through life, whether professionally or personally, you have to get more positive out of it than the negative it took out of you, right? For me, it's documenting it, trying to become an advocate, right? To call out and help potentially, advocate enough to, identify areas that need change systematically, right? I'm hoping my book, I've documented a lot. I'm pretty positive my book is going to be on a shelf somewhere. And even if it touches 20 hands, right? Those 20 hands are 20 hands that weren't there to help me. And so I look at that as I'm getting more positive out of it than the negative it took out of me, because I'm finding a platform or a way to give back in a positive way, even though it was negative affected me, right? And so that's, I would not have spoken like that 3 years ago. And so that's the shift also, right? That's the shift also of understanding your limitations, understanding where your growth is, what you can and what you can't do, right? And how to respond to things effectively and in a way that keeps your dignity in place.
Absolutely. And when you publish your book, when it's on the shelves, please let us know so we can also share the news with our audience, with our listeners and viewers. Well, before we end our podcast, we have an important question that we like to ask you, because you have decades of professional experience. Do you have any career advice for the next generation professionals?
It's career advice that I'm not taking. I'm going to give career advice that I'm not taking right now. So the career advice I would give is, don't get too invested in a firm, because you're very disposable. And I'll give you some context regarding that. I worked at a healthcare company for a little bit over a year and a half, and I was traveling to Madison, Wisconsin every week. And I became very vested in my role as a VP of multi-channel marketing. And I was very opinionated on how things were going to go, because I was brought in as the digital thought leader. Overnight, a digital agency was purchased. And overnight, so was my job. And instead of aligning with decision makers that didn't know the digital landscape, right? They, I was grounded in my thought leadership and best practices. But that really got me nowhere, right? I was grounded in like how are we building the best practice possible for the firm internally, and I put too much weight into my investment into the firm, and ultimately did not, I didn't reap any awards. I ended up not being aligned with certain stakeholders, and ultimately a company was bought overnight and I was gone overnight. And I'll say it's not advice I'm taking right now for myself, because I'm, as I called out before, I'm heavily emotionally tied to Trade Desk, right? So I'm not even taking, it's advice I'd give, but advice I'm not practicing.
I see. Okay.
Sincerely.
Well, yeah, please go on.
But I'm also an emotional person, right? So for me, the emotional tie to things is what drives me, right? That's my key driver is emotions, and feeling a part of something, right? I think we all want to feel a part of something. So when you feel a part of something and you feel like you put a lot into it, right? Watching your baby grow, watching the fruits of your labor, sometimes it's hard to let go. But it's like your child, like my daughter's going to be, I guess she's going to be 13 in 5 days. I love watching her grow. I would never give up any of those days. I would never give any of those days of watching the milestones for Trade Desk either. So it's a labor of love. It's sometimes we don't practice what we preach, but that is what life is, right? Without there is no sunshine without rain.
That's true. Well, for those among our audience, for those who like to be in touch with you, continue this conversation, what is the best way to be in touch with you that you can?
Yeah, absolutely. So first I want to call out that, like I said before, we recently rolled out Prism, which is our integrated chatbot that is on a Trade Desk site. And so I would advocate, and I just want to drive home, that's been the biggest thing for us, because it takes away the intimidation factor for new investors. You've got somebody holding your hand, and really guiding you in trades. So we've got some great offers right now. We've got fractional shares. When you sign up, you're going to get fractional shares that could be worth up to $5,000. Right now, we have a promo also where option trading is no contract fees, no commissions. So if you're an options trader, come to Trade Desk. And it's Trade Desk, TRADESK.co. And if you're an options trader, take advantage of that, because our competitors are charging you contract fees and commission.
Yeah.
We're not. And take advantage of the AI of Prism. The best way to reach me is on LinkedIn. So it is linkedin.com/IN/med, MED, YACOUB. And I'm fairly active there and respondent. And just want to kind of piggyback that. I'll also be Digital Marketing Financial Services Summit at the Hilton next week, November 6th and 7th.
Yes, in the city, right?
Kevin, I invite you to come and meet me in person.
Yeah, I love to join you. Thank you for the invitation. Yeah, I'll be happy to see you in person as well, and that's a great invitation. Very gracious of you. I'll be happy to be there. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Excellent.
And also, anyone from your team, we also have a networking event. We call it the Connection America. It happens on our podcast. So anyone who like to join from your team, we also welcome it. Also, I like to share this to our audience as well. We have this monthly business networking event that's online, and we stream it on these podcasts live. So we also welcome anyone from your team as well if anyone like to join and talk more about the trade desk and benefits of working with trade desk. We definitely welcome it. Matt, thank you so much for being with us in your busy schedule. It was very informative and educational podcast episode. And thank you for sharing your professional wisdom and insights with us. And I wish you a great weekend.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the platform to do that.
Pleasure is all mine, and I wish you a great weekend. And we'll be in touch at the summit. Thank you so much again for the invitation.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, bye now. Thank you so much. See you. Thanks. Well, to our audience and to our listeners, thank you so much for listening. The American Business Podcast. Well, in each the American Business Podcast episode, we bring you content that's informative, educational, and as I always say, you learn at least something new, at least one thing that you really pick up. But this episode was full of information and insights. I'm sure you learn more than just one thing in this particular episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. I personally enjoyed it. It was actually very informative for me as well. Okay, what else is happening? The Connection America Business Networking event, as I mentioned earlier. The next one that is scheduled for October 24th. We put together this business networking event every month. That's a monthly event. And what is different about it is that we actually stream it live on the American Business Podcast. So you meet with other business professionals on this event, and at the same time you are live on the American Business Podcast. So thousands of business-minded the American Business Podcast audience, viewers, and listeners, they'll be also listening and learning about your business, your products, services, your company, and the benefits of your services and products as well. So that's a great opportunity for you to introduce yourself, your company, your products, and also meet with other business professionals on these events. So I like to invite you. If you scan this QR code that I have on the screen, it'll take you to a registration page that you can put your information in and you can join us. I hope you can make it as for October 24th, 10 a.m. Eastern. So it is coming up. It's actually for next Friday, and hope you can make it and you can join us. We have limited seating for those who like to join, and the sooner that you register is better. Recently, we started our membership program, the American Business Podcast membership program. If you haven't done so, please scan this QR code and join us. We have different membership programs that you can be part of based on your choice and how you like to support the American Business Podcast and our team. And the goal is that we like to, as a token of appreciation, we also put together certain benefits for each membership program or the membership type. So whichever you sign up for, there are various benefits that you can see in addition to supporting the American Business Podcast. Please scan this QR code and it'll take you to the membership page. Okay, let's talk about our sponsors, and I like to invite you to visit Ms. Excel's website. If you like to learn Excel and other Microsoft business software products in a fun and enjoyable way, consider Ms. Excel. If you scan this QR code, it'll take you to their website, and you can learn more about their services, their courses. You can also pick the one that you're interested in, and before you check out, make sure you add the discount code ABP2025. It'll give you a discount and you'll enjoy Ms. Excel's courses in a fun and enjoyable way. And they teach Microsoft systems, Excel, and other Microsoft business software systems as well. If you're in the market for an ERP system, ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. It's an accounting system supported by other advanced business tools for you to be more productive and more competitive in your market. Consider iTech Inc. iTech is specialized in SAP ERP systems as well as Oracle ERP, and they offer implementation and support services. If you scan this QR code, it'll take you to their website. You can learn more about their implementation and configuration services for the ERP systems I mentioned, SAP and Oracle, and you can be in touch with them. If you get in touch with them, make sure you hear about them you heard about them from the American Business Podcast, so they'll know. If you're in the market for an VPN system, consider IPVANISH VPN. I use IPVANISH as well as a solid VPN software system. When you scan this QR code, it'll take you to their website. You can learn more about their offering, their VPN technology, and you can sign up for the VPN service that they offer. Great. Well, that's all for this episode. Thank you so much for listening to the American Business Podcast. The American Business Podcast is the voice of American business. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of the American Business Podcast. Thank you very much and have a great day.
This is the American Business Podcast for the next generation, ABP, with Kevin Devecioglu. ABP is a popular business podcast with thousands of subscribers on YouTube. The American Business Podcast community is growing fast. Thank you for your support. Subscribe ABP's YouTube channel today. The American Business Podcast is coming to you from the center of the global business world, New York City. With new educational business content is coming to you every week. Visit the official website for more information and corporate sponsorship opportunities at www.americanpodcast.tv today. To be a guest at the American Business Podcast, email us at americanbusinesspodcast@gmail.com.